Talking to some of the best names in contemporary Christian music. This is the Hope FM Artist Interview.
Yeah, well, I was fortunate, Gordon. We grew up in Australia, like I mentioned, and Australians sort of, Australians, the no worries mate culture, it's sort of eat, drink and be merry because tomorrow we die. And there's something charming about it in certain areas, just stress levels and whatnot. But when it comes to faith and it comes to believing in someone greater than yourself, I think as Aussies, if I could diagnose us, we have a bit of a hard time with it. And I was, on the contrary, very fortunate to grow up in a family that it was sort of had a lot of generational faith and very genuine. Grandparents were ministers and violinists and poets, and so music and faith were always things that were around our house growing up. And Dad was a concert promoter as well, so he would bring over artists in the 80s, and Stryper and Whiteheart and Amy Grant and Carmen, all these all these old rockers and artists and pop singers. And so you just had music always kind of in the house. But as the story goes, he lost $250,000 on a tour. The people just didn't show up at the concerts. My dad. And he'd always felt the prompting actually to come to the States and to come to Nashville. And he went to Mum and he basically said, look, there's nothing left for me here, like other than becoming a real estate agent, which was just not his thing. It's like, there's nothing for me to do. I'm a creative. And he said, what if we went to the States just for 2 years? And so we sold what little we had left. We packed six kids, Gordon, 6 kids and one on the way.
Wow.
And we moved halfway around the world to Nashville because he'd been offered a job. We got here. He lost his job.
Oh, doesn't sound good.
Speaking of faith, no. We really dove into the depths of faith at that point. Prayed for everything because we had nothing. We're sleeping on beds made out of clothes. And really rallied as a family. We raked leaves in the autumn and we mowed lawns in the summer, and Rebecca and Mum cleaned houses. And then around that time, our older sister Rebecca started, she was always loved singing. And Dad took it a bunch of record labels, and the very last one he went to, as the story goes, she got signed. And then we just sort of traveled together as the Australian Von Trapp family, and jumped in a 15-passenger van, and that's where Luke and I really learned the beauty of music. We fell in love with music, saw the impact of music, what it means to put together a live show.
And just for listeners at home, to say the Rebecca that you're talking about is, of course, the absolutely wonderful Rebecca St. James. Yes,
and you guys have always been so kind to her, particularly internationally. It's been really special. And so, yeah, we learned the ropes under her tutelage. And it's fair to say without Rebecca, there would be no For King and Country in many ways. So that's a bit of a snapshot into our journey. But faith is just sort of the through line. And Jesus is the through line of the whole thing. It always has come back to him and come back to that. And we're very grateful for that. It's kept us in good stead, I think, as a family.
You've been watching The Artist Interview. For the full podcast, click the links below or visit hopefm.com/The Artist Interview.